Hi, everybody, and welcome to our third webinar of 2020. It's been a while since we did one. In case you forgot, Levy Rosman, Keith Espinosa, and well, it's been a while, mainly because of coronavirus. That's why we're here. We obviously have the live chat at the time of getting this thing going. So if anybody watching right now has any questions, you can just drop that in the live chat, and we'll answer it as we go. Talking about coronavirus, college planning, its impact, and so on. And so the first order of business that we have is how coronavirus has affected academics and testing. Keith, you and I were just talking about this. Why don't you?
So, a lot of schools, almost all schools have declared themselves test optional. But the reality is that in order to distinguish yourself from all the other competitive top 20, at the top 20 schools, we insist that our students still sit for the exam.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our parents have come to us, our current clients have come to us and said, but there's we're local.
Right.
So I'll just tell them, travel.
Yep.
Stay in a hotel overnight, get a good night's rest, and crush the exam. We had a number of students just this weekend who, on the West Coast, that went to faraway places as Idaho, Wyoming, Georgia, just because those states had situations where they could.
Right.
My own kids, who are rising juniors, and we both live in New York City, are traveling to Pennsylvania, New Jersey to sit for the exam in September.
Right. And so we talked specifically about top 20, top 25 schools saying publicly, test optional. Some of you are watching from California. A lot of the viewer questions, which we'll get to later, were about the UC schools. They're saying that you don't need to submit. Well, look, the truth of the matter is, if you can submit, the better it's going to be. If you're looking at a top 50 school, maybe it won't hurt, but and we'll get to the later. Well, what if I didn't take anything? What if I'm tomorrow I start senior year and I never took a test? What can I do? And I think the second part of academics and testing is this stat might really come as a shock, but 20% of students that were accepted into the top schools, you told me this, mm-hmm. Harvard, other Ivy Leagues, the HIPs, right? Stanford as well. 20% of students that got in are taking a gap year, which means fall 2021. So if you're watching this right now, you're a senior and you need to go through the application process. 20% of your class in a top school is gone, right? So what does that mean?
Well, that means that it's schools that are already hard to get into that much more difficult.
Right.
The themselves will not expand the class size to account for a gap year of this size. Typically, it is in the low, very, very low single digits students who are accepted to. But this year it's 20%. Now, there's a chance that 20% could take a gap year, and that will help you get off the wait list. That's a conversation for the spring, and we can do that. We can help you with letters of interest, mm-hmm. that sort of thing. But for right now, I need people to start thinking about the class size of acceptable students is that much smaller. So if you're not a recruited athlete, a legacy or development case, or first gen, mm-hmm. your chances go up tremendously.
Yeah.
At HIPs, at the top schools.
And I guess what I should maybe summarize this with, you and I talked about this, is if you're watching this and between February, March, when coronavirus kind of burst out onto the scene in the United States and abroad, and now, which is 5 to 6 month gap, if you haven't taken a test, if you were a junior and you said, I got to sit at home, I got to quarantine, I can't travel, I don't know if I should travel from state to state, you probably should go the test optional route. You have some time before the applications begin to sit, but if you just can't, if you're going that route, it's going to be the essays. Mm-hmm. The essays and whatever extracurriculars that you can put on there, and the contrarian positioning. We talk about that a lot. It's all over our website, but essentially finding a way to stand out relative to your peers. You want to go for the business angle, okay, but you have to stand out when you're applying, because tens of thousands of other students will be applying as a business angle, and they did take a test. They did find a way to sit for the SAT, which kind of brings us to the next part of this, which is the extracurricular activities. Look, it's no secret. We had our students as well upended by a lot of this. We had people who were going to be in medicine, volunteering with doctors, shadowing doctors. That didn't happen. That just did not happen at all. But the truth of the matter is, across the board, top 50 school, doesn't matter. They want to see that you did something. So who does this affect the most is the rising senior, right? It's because if you were a junior when coronavirus hit, and you sat out, you did not react, you didn't think, you were just like deer in the headlights, it's gonna hurt. There's, it's like a Band-Aid. We just gotta rip it off. It's gonna hurt. So what can you do? You're going into senior year. Some of our students watching are starting senior year tomorrow.
Yeah.
What do they have to do if their entire junior year was screwed up?
I can't stress upon enough that I want to see research with a local professor. If it has to be remote, that's great. That's fine. Every professor at local, I don't care if it's a local community college, needs grunt work. You can be that grunt.
Yeah.
You will be that person. Right. I want to see volunteer, get your hands dirty in person, out of the house. I don't just get out.
Right.
You have to be active. It's not okay to stay at home. And and people ask, I believe one of the questions I was given before is like, what about online course versus in-person course? And we unless the course is is given by one of the Ivies, one of the top schools, we always recommend the local course. In-person learning is more valuable. It's more impactful. It shows more seriousness for online learning. But online course is the last straw.
Right. So unless it's something that's offered by a top school, it's definitely preferred to do something in person. We understand that in a 50-state situation, every state has handled the pandemic differently. Some are now on regressing. Some are blowing up because everyone's outside. Masks are not required in some states, and that's just the reality of the situation. So if you can find something where you can get out safely, you should try to do it, because the truth of the matter is there's tens of thousands of students still applying, and for all the gap years that are being taken, there is a lot of students that will get a test. Like Keith just said at the beginning, some of you might just be getting here, we had students fly state to state, if possible, drive state to state if possible, to take a standardized test so that they did have that on their application. No one could have predicted something like this. You cannot predict a pandemic. You cannot predict something of this magnitude, but life is going to have to go on, and you have to adapt to the circumstances. So seniors are the most affected. If your junior year you sat out and you didn't accomplish something, now what's going to get you in is the testing and the essays and finding a way to be contrarian. For some of you, that might mean you have to just adjust your expectations. I mean, if you didn't take a test and you didn't do extracurriculars, that's a year of school. That is an opportunity, and that sucks. There's no way to frame that any better. If you're an underclassman watching this, or a parent of an underclassman, 10th grader, 9th grader, 8th grader, you're in okay shape. I did see a question that was, provided prior to the presentation. What do we do for next summer? Because this might not be over by the next summer, and I have a 10th grader. What are we gonna? So, like we're saying, online research opportunities. We've had students track coronavirus stats in other countries with professors, with doctors, a family connection. We look to find that connection that might be in your family or immediate network. Your student has been doing some amazing stuff. I mean, no names, but talk about that.
Well, he working with I have a couple of private students that work with me individually, and essentially they're working in California with in public health, working with doctors, tracing, just grunt work. We're using Excel spreadsheets, doing contact tracing and doing research on the subject itself. Just understanding what is super spreader event, what causes it, Is it outdoor? Is it indoors? And these are the germs of research that can help public policy move forward to indoor dining one day soon.
Right.
Gyms opening, movie theaters, getting back to us
living life
living life a little bit normally than we were. And so he's doing research on that. I have another student who's working on who started a nonprofit. It's chess related, and he is also working on a project related to chess that is
historical, right?
Yeah, historical chess. That's working that, and
so
it's going to help him.
It's not just about whether you're interested in pre-med,
right,
or you had an interest in environmental policy or something along those lines. There were some questions like, what does a musician do? What does an artist do? Make a channel. I mean, find a way to get your content out there. It's not organic. It's not what you'd be doing normally. No. But you got to do something. You can't just sit idle and allow time to pass.
There was a question from one of our participants that asked about music in specific, and I can say that most music instructors are very, very, very familiar with Zoom.
Yeah.
And that is an amazing way a Zoom meeting is an amazing way for music specifically to be transmitted. You can get 7 or 8 participants in the room at the same time, all playing at the same time. I think that's a fantastic for music specifically.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter what your interests are, and also where either you or your family thinks that your college path and ultimately your graduate path can take you. The reality of the situation is, this is the best mindset that we can give, is if you're not doing it, someone is. Mm-hmm. Someone is doing it, whether it's working with Bentham admissions, a Solomon admissions, or a variety of local admissions consultants and so on and so forth. People are doing this. And we did get a lot of questions like, give me an idea, what my child should be doing. Like what should we be doing if we're not doing anything?
I need to know more about the child.
Right.
Those are very open-ended questions. We get them all the time. The parents are up in arms. They don't understand what they should do. So essentially, we would write a profile for your student for interests that they have already demonstrated, and then find something academically tinged along those rates, those route, and that's how we would move forward with that.
Yeah, because a lot of it ultimately is a little bit. It's tough to be super specific, right? We can't say this is who we contacted, right? Mm-hmm. Because ultimately that's reserved for the students that are working with some of our consultants one-on-one. But as far as, well, point me in the right direction. Hopefully this presentation helped with that, with an online research opportunity with some a college professor. We have a vast network of professors around the United States, but even we don't try to tap back into our resources. Mm-hmm. Like we try to start the process completely new. Right. Student, let's say, I don't know, Michigan, greater Michigan, Detroit area. All right, let's try to narrow it down. What can you do online or in person potentially? Yeah. And that's basically what we do. We had really 3 categories of questions, as you see on your screen. Hopefully we tapped into like 95% of academics and testing and extracurricular activity. You need them. And everyone's going to have a different obstacle of obtaining a test score, obtaining a good set of extracurricular activities. And the truth of the matter is, if you're watching this as a 12th grader or an 11th grader, your essays are going to become super, super useful. They're already incredibly underrated. Some of these essays we read when they first come to us are disasters, and we try to improve them. The third category is this general student question. I saw some questions like, how do we keep our kid motivated? I mean, our kid's just having insane cabin fever. Like 6 months indoors doesn't do anyone any good. And that's, we can't speak on behalf of being like a trained psychologist or anything like that, but the reality of the situation is, I've said this a lot, college is going to stay college. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're trying to apply now or you'll be trying to apply in 1 year. The colleges are not going to expand their class by 500 to accommodate new people. More people are going to take a gap year, and less people are going to be admitted a year from now. And right now, everyone is a bit confused. It was supposed to be a 2-week thing, a 1-month thing.
Flatten the curve. We're going to get past this, but things have not gone to plan.
It's September in 2 days.
Yeah.
And you cannot keep sitting idle. So our plan for seniors is figure out what they've done and what they haven't, and let's go. Let's hit the ground running. Let's adapt a school list based on what you did or didn't do in your junior year. And if you're an underclassman, okay, it's not the end of the world. You still have time to make up some of those extracurriculars. So, I mean, that's basically it for today. I mean, for those of you that are just watching, you want to take some pointers and kind of go your own path. We wish you obviously the best. If you are considering working with us, there's a lot of ways to get in touch. There's the link in the description. If you're watching this on our website, any place that you can find a contact form, just basically drop us some information about the student, what you might or might not have done over the course of coronavirus, and what the plan is moving forward. And I guess the last thing is, in terms of payment plans, we've also adapted. For those of you that came to us in like May or April, we offered coaching for free for the end of the year, the whole last 2-3 months, to just basically get you through the school year and then kind of push you into what's going to start now. But I mean, Keith, just today you split up a contract into 5 payments, 6 payments, because we get it. All right, we do not anticipate that you are going to pay us for 3 years and let's go. We are completely aware of the challenges that coronavirus has brought, and I mean, we understand.
You want to work with us, we want to work with you. That's what I'm saying. You can look at our website. Our over 60% of our kids got into Cornell and to Berkeley last season. We crushed those 2 schools, and we have been crushing them for years. We've been getting kids into HIPS, all the top tier schools for years. I think you're gonna be happy with us. Just give us a call.
Yeah, call, email, any way to get in touch. I've been looking to see if any chat questions pop up, but don't hesitate if you don't want to drop a question into the live chat. Any way that you find suitable, drop us a line, we'll answer, and maybe we can put something together. So thank you all very much. Hopefully this was helpful. It kind of gets you going in the right direction, or lights a fire. And for those of you that might have been already trying a few things, maybe you know what works and what doesn't. And hopefully we'll see you in a few weeks for a webinar on a slightly more positive note. Looking forward to maybe something more specific like Wall Street or something along those lines. But we'll try to be more active with the webinars, obviously, now that the school year is beginning. Take care, everybody, whether you're watching in the evening now or good morning if you're watching in the future. And all the best with your college planning.